Thank you for being with us today, Dr. Bertrhude Albert. I am Erlantz Hyppolite, the Executive Director of Fonkoze USA. For 30 years, Fonkoze has stood alongside Haiti's most vulnerable women, empowering them with the tools and support to uplift their families and their communities. We have been guided during that word by that Haitian saying, Femme c'est potomita. Today, Dr. Bertrhude Albert, we are very honored to have you with us. As a proud Haitian American and co-founder of PH4 Global, the largest teacher training nonprofit in Haiti, you also have been working that path of empowering women. So, and also you embody that saying of femme c'est potomita. Of course, I have to go there. The amazing work that you've done to support the construction of that canal really show your leadership and your passion for Haiti. So thank you for being with us today.
I am so excited, Erlantz, to be here with you, to have this conversation with you. Thank you. Fonkoze is an organization that's near and dear to my heart. So this is an honor to be here with you.
Merci en pile. So without further ado, I will start with the first question that I have for you. We know you as the proud Asian American, voice for telling the true story of Haiti and advocating for her. Could you share a little bit about your journey and the experience that shaped your career and passion?
Mm, Beautiful question. So I was born in Haiti, in Okap, but when I was a baby, before I was even one, I came to the United States, ended up going back to Haiti at 6, and then came for good when I was 8. Um, and so I grew up in South Florida, and growing up in South Florida, I wasn't as connected to Haiti, the Haitian people, the story of the Haitian people, because to be honest, growing up in South Florida, I was made fun of for being Haitian. All that I heard about was the darkness, the disasters, the death. All I heard was the negative side of Haiti. But when I went to college and I started to read books about Haitian history, when I started to learn about our people, the first free Black republic, when I started to learn about how our people fought for the equality of the human race, how our people became the first free Black republic in the world, the first nation to permanently abolish slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, are the first nation established in Latin America and in the Caribbean. I knew that there was so much more to Haiti that I had to discover, and I couldn't just base my understanding of my country on what the news said about my people. And the reality is, and it's not just for me, Haitians that base their understanding on Haiti just on the news or just on the negative perceptions of what people say, you start to internalize that, and that starts to become your self perspective. And I didn't realize that until I started to read about the powerful past of the Haitian people, reading about Sanit Belair, how she helped to rise up the entire Actibonite area with her husband, but she was at the hems of it, like starting to read about Catherine Flawn and her courage and how her design is still what we raise up, the Haitian flag that we raise up today. Starting to read about Marie-Jean Lamartine and how she, on the battlefield, she wore pants and she had a sword in one hand and pistol in the other, and she was fighting courageously, how she led the Haitian army. When I read about that, that started to change my self perspective, and it started to change how I viewed not only Haiti but like my ability. So I went to Haiti for the first time in 2010 after studying about the Haitian people, and then the earthquake happened. It was just a perfect connection. And let me tell you, Erlantz, when I went to Haiti, I fell in love with our mountains. I fell in love with our oceans. I fell in love with our people. I fell in love with our food, with our culture. Nothing compares to walking the streets of Haiti and being embraced by these majestic mountains all around you. Nothing compares to tasting griot in Haiti for the first time. Nothing compares to Haitian earth and air entering into your lungs, you breathing the same air, the same breath that our people are breathing. I fell in love with Haiti, and I knew the rest of my life was going to be fighting with the Haitian people. That was a mouthful, but it was a whole journey for me. And so now I am so glad. I am so proud to say that the rest of my life, until I have my dying breath, I will be fighting for our people.
This is so this is so true and so powerful what you just said, Dr. Bertrhude. I had kind of a similar path with you. By the way, I'm also a doctor, but a physician, and I train to be a physician in Haiti.
Whoa.
And my connection with the culture, of course, I grew up in Haiti. Um, my connection with the culture really started when I started my journey as a physician working in the countryside and realizing that that culture that you're just describing, that pride, it's still there in Olaku, all over the Olaku that spread out and the 10 departments of Haiti. And I think that, even though we are having challenging time right now, the reason why we can still stand as a nation is because that culture is still there. I call it Nam Haitien. I had the
Yes.
chance, yeah, I had the chance to go last year. And uh, you could feel it, that soul, that link, it's still there, that community, it's still there. And you can describe it. It's just the way it is. So this is so powerful, and I absolutely connect with what you just have said. Let's move to the second question. From your perspective, what are the three most inspiring qualities you see in Haitian women?
Hmm. I love that question. Um, Haitian women, as you mentioned, they're potomitan. They are the central pillars um, of Haitian society. Haitian women, what the research shows that like over 50% of households in Haiti are led by Haitian women. I think that statistic is actually way higher than that. So for me, I believe that what I love about Haitian women, number one, I love the faithfulness of Haitian women. And when I say faithfulness, I mean, when a Haitian woman is on your side, we will not be going anywhere. We are ride or dies. I see that in the way that Haitian women form friendships and bonds amongst each other, how they are ready to stand and fight for each other. Even in the United States, I think of some of my closest friends. Pascal Belloni is one of my closest friends. That's a Haitian. She is willing and ready to fight and to stand for me in any situation. I think of even some newer friends that I've made over the past months, like Tico, and seeing how she is ready to stand and fight. And it's not just us. When I look at the faithfulness of Haitian women in Haiti, I see how even when uh, no jab to the Haitian men, but even when Haitian men are inside of the house, whether they leave the women or whether they are still married to the women, but like they're busy doing other things, Haitian women are faithful in the homes. They take care of the children, they take care of the homes, they go to work, and then they come back and they do the cycle over and over again. So the fact that they are faithful to the calling that they have on their lives, faithful to the responsibilities. Il pas facile pour joindre yon femme haïtien kap la give responsabilité li kon sa. Like, no, you're not going to easily find a Haitian woman that's like, you know what? I'm actually really tired today. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to. Somehow they find a way to take care of everything that they are faithful. I love the courage of the Haitian women. The best story that I have is Sanit Belair, and we won't have time to go into this Haitian warrior. Um, but even upon death, she's the one that rose up the entire Atibonite area, and she's the one that led the Haitian Revolution alongside of Toussaint. And upon her death, uh, the French were about to kill her, and her dying words were "Vive liberté, à bas esclavage." So up until the moment they're about to kill her, she still had this courage. She still had this fire in her, and she is like, "Long live liberty, down with slavery." And just that cry was a rally cry for enslaved people all around the area. She did more with her last words than she did when she was living and breathing and fighting. And so that courage, I see Sanit Belair all over Haiti. And I'm sure you all in Fonkoze, you see in the women that you work with, you see her spirit within the hearts of so many Haitian women. So faithfulness, courage, and then I think the last thing, there's so many words. Oh, this is hard, so many words, but I would say beauty. The beauty of the Haitian women, for me, it's unmatched. I mean, I've been to 43 countries across the world. One of my alongside of reading books, that's one of my pastimes, and I love to do that a lot. But I also like to travel, and when I travel, I like to compare with Haiti, and I like to learn from different nations for Haiti. And one of the things that I've noticed is physically, the Haitian women are just some of the most beautiful, breathtaking humans on this earth. But then also internally, there's something that is just so, and when I talk about beauty, I talk about there's something that is so attractive about Haitian women. There's something that is so illuminating. There's something that is so bright and so incredible. The beauty that we find within Haitian women, I probably am biased, but I haven't found it in other. I feel like it's a treasure. I feel like it is a gem, something that's just so unique in the Haitian society. So again, I think it's faithfulness, courage, and just beauty.
Again, I could not agree more with you. I have an anecdote to share about faithfulness and courage.
Oh,
I started my journey, just I said, as a physician, and I was working in that very Artibonite Valley that you are mentioning. That was the heart of the Haitian Revolution. I was working in
really?
Petite Rivière de l'Artibonite,
Okay.
and I was running a nutrition program. And I'm working right now for Fonkoze, but believe it or not, I started to work for Fonkoze when I came here in the US.
Uh-huh.
But along the work that I was doing, because I've always been working in development, I've always worked side by side with Fonkoze. And these women, they were in my program and we're providing them support for nutrition. And we realized that, they knew exactly what to do to balance their kids' diet. They
Mm.
just didn't have the means. They had courage, they were fighting, but they just didn't have the means. So we put them in touch with Fonkoze and Petite Rivière, and they started like little business. I remember to this day that they started to sell soap, caisse savon, lessive. And from that day forward, I never saw them in the program. And it was the time where, it was BlackBerry and BBM. And every year they will send me a picture of their business going up. That was in 2012. And other women that they train to become women entrepreneurs. I
Oh
kept
my
hearing these
goodness.
pictures until 2018. I think the reason why I'm not receiving them is because, they probably lost my number.
Wow.
That's, courage. That's community. And like you said, so many times I've seen these women, they are the one that, wake up in the morning to make sure that the kids get fed, put them on the donkey, go take them to school, and then take that same donkey, go to the jardin, get
It's
the
exact.
harvest, and go to the marché and sell them, that woman. So I think, they are not only the pillar of the community, the family, but also of the economy.
Yeah, and we
That's
haven't
what,
even touched base on Madame Sarah, like
yeah.
in this image of a woman that wakes up so early in the morning before the sun can even rise up. And they're working with huge baskets on their head. They're working full days, and then they come back late at night, and then they wake up just to do the same cycle over and over. And then Mara Sarah, she's not only the pillar of her family, but even the Haitian society. If we're able to get goods, it's because Mara Sarah, she takes it from rural areas and walks hours upon hours to bring it to the urban areas. She's the one that is often unnoticed within Haitian society, but she's the very fabric of the society that connects the urban to the rural, that feeds her family and feeds the nation. Like, there's so many images. We have so many. That's how you can tell that Haitian women are so beautiful and so courageous. Is in Haitian society, we have so many different ways to describe Haitian women. Potomitan, Marasa, like we describe them in so many ways, right?
Yep, that's absolutely true. So we will not, even like, come close to finish that topic. So let's go like, to the other question that I have for you. How can the Haitian diaspora play an active and important role in supporting Haiti's future, especially to work alongside Haitian women?
Yeah, I think that it's a good question. The Haitian diaspora has a specific role in Haiti's advancement. Haiti will rise, but the Haitian diaspora must contribute and must come alongside of the homeland. And one of the main ways that the Haitian diaspora can do this is by partnering with organizations like Fonkoze, because not everyone is called to go to Haiti and to start an organization in Haiti. Not everybody's supposed to start organization. Not everyone is supposed to uh, be engaging on the ground in Haiti. But I think that every single solitary Haitian has a responsibility to either be on the ground or support organizations like Fonkoze that are on the ground, that are working with the vulnerable of the vulnerable, that have statistics to show the impact, that have stories, qualitative, quantitative data that show the impact that is being had on the ground. Because the reality is, without Fonkoze, there are so many lives that won't be touched. Without Fonkoze, there is so much that work that won't be done. And so the Haitian diaspora, one of the best ways that they could come alongside of Haiti is becoming a monthly donor, becoming a major donor, becoming an advocate, volunteering their time. Whenever Fonkoze is posting something on social media, spreading it on social media, whenever there's a campaign, spreading it, becoming a mouthpiece for Fonkoze, because that goes along a very, very long way. So, in summary, to answer your question, how can diaspora have a direct impact on Haiti? Partner with people that are already on the ground. Perhaps see if you can travel and see for yourself what's going on. But even if you can't travel, even if it's in an area that is um, not reachable, or even if the flights, because the flights right now, I go to Haiti every month, man, they're so expensive right now. Even if it's too expensive to fly, or even if whatever the case might be, you can still financially support.
No, indeed, and I think with with the changing landscape right now also, it's very important that the diaspora realize that and that we realize as Asian that c'est nous plus supporter la caille.
C'est ça.
Uh, and I think there's a lot that can be done within our community. I think that if we were more attentive to that, we will not have been looking outside to get support. The support that we need is already embedded in our community. And it's just the question of trust. And I get it that, we've been through so much, but there are organizations, not only like Fonkoze, like, P4H Global as well, and many others that I know that are working in like, communities, and that makes a difference. And Janotia, c'est petit oiseaux initially.
Ça.
It's commencer par en bas. Let's start from the bottom and we will get up. And we need that support. And that support, it can be, of course, l'argent, money. It can be technical assistance. It can be just a call to say that we believe in what you're doing. We understand what you're doing. It can be like sharing the work that we're doing to elevate that very negative narrative that we have right now. Because actually, good thing is still happening in Haiti. They are not showing in the news
Exactly.
these amazing women, the work that you're doing with your own organization. We have really to fight hard to put it out. So we each can become an ambassador to say, yes, we have that insecurity, we have that situation that is going on right now. But guess what? Life goes on, and there are people fighting for the right things to happen.
That's right. And you know what's so beautiful? When we just saw that the Haitian diaspora, yo gen volontaire, and yo vle, et puis yo capable, yo gen capacité. Even with the canal, I was blown away to see how the Haitian, yo gonfle fosio. We came together and we said, it is time to rise up. And I was blown away to see how quickly the Haitian diaspora mobilized. Without the Haitian diaspora, that canal in Waramet would not be complete right now. It absolutely would not be complete. And so if we were able to come together for the Wanamet Canal, and I see that they're doing it for the Malfiti Canal, we're almost done with that canal. I see that they did it with the Folibete and the Tobec and the bridge that we built in Okap through the diaspora. We want to, it goes back to what you were saying, which is trust. Can we truly trust the organizations that are in Haiti? But what I will challenge any diaspora that is listening to the sound of my voice. Trust is really important. Do research on Fonkoze, do your due diligence, have meetings with the Fonkoze staff, and allow there to be a pathway for you to build that trust with this organization because they have a proven track record. Et puis, c'est pas facile pour mettre confiance moi dans une organisation, but for years I've known of, I've heard of Fonkoze, and I think that they've proven who they are. So allow there to be an opportunity for trust to be built with organizations in Haiti.
Indeed. And I think that's the part for sustainability for us. Like we said, c'est graisse cochon qui pour cuire cochon. So,
Hmm.
it's us that need to start believing in us. That's
By the way, your Haitian proverb game is on point. Like you are, you are really, really strong in that domain.
thank you. One last question, Bertrhude. Uh, in your opinion, how can we strengthen community-based organization like Fonkoze, like P4H, and what role do they play in working alongside women in Haiti?
Mm, good question. I think that um, certainly to increase the capacity of organizations like Fonkoze, like P4H, financial support is a big thing, especially now. And I think we mentioned Haiti is experiencing a crisis, and today versus 2 years ago, prices of something have doubled, tripled, in some cases quadrupled. It is harder today for us to keep our doors open than it was 2 years ago. And so to really support organization, we can't get past the financial needs that our organizations have. That for me would be number one. I think number two would be helping to increase the capacity of our organizations. So one thing that we do within P4H, and I'm sure that Fonkoze does this as well, is training our staff. We're really, really, really big on offering professional development for our staff, making sure that they are the best trainers, not just in Haiti, but we want them to be the best trainers in the world. And so we're always trying to connect with effective trainers, effective people, and having them train our staff, having them increase the capacity of our staff. And I'm sure that that would be the same with Fonkoze, increasing the capacity of the staff, but then also the perhaps even the women that you all are working with and the trainings that you all do with them. And then I think the third point, when we're looking at how do we strengthen community-based organizations like Fonkoze, it goes back to this is just summarizing this entire conversation that we've had. Um, I think it goes to elevating the voices because both Fonkoze and P4H, We are in the business of changing the narrative of Haiti. We are in the business of redefining the way that the world sees and engages with Haiti, because it impacts not only Haitians in Haiti, but it impacts the Haitian diaspora. And as we mentioned, like, the self awareness and the ways that we view self, it's directly reflected on the ways that we view Haiti. And so when we elevate the voices of Fonkoze and P4H, organizations that are trying to rewrite the narrative, we in effect are elevating Haiti and elevating the views of Haiti. Something even as simple as, when people look at Haiti in the media, they only see burning tires, they only see gang members carrying the guns and carrying, it's just the most devastating perspective and view of Haiti. But very few organizations will actually tell you these B rolls that we keep seeing over and over again. It's Port-au-Prince, but Haiti is much more than Port-au-Prince. There's Okap, there's Jeremy, there's Jacques Mel, there's Enche, there's Okai. There are so many other areas outside of the city, outside of the metropole, outside of Port-au-Prince, and it's imperative that we share that, because if we just keep sharing the negative sides, only the negative parts of Port-au-Prince, people that are donating to organizations, they get tired of it. They're like, why would I was just talking with a donor, and they were like, um, I really do. I love you, Bertrhude, and I love P4H, but why would I donate if I all I'm seeing is just negative things that are happening in the country? Like, we were trying to get a significant amount of money. It's like, I could give you guys like $500, but like the larger amounts. But if it's all just negative, why would I invest my money in that? And so it really does impact the impact. It really does impact the good work that we are doing outside of the city, outside of Port-au-Prince, when all that the world is seeing is the negative side of Port-au-Prince. Does that make sense?
Oh, it absolutely makes sense. We have to go through the same type of questioning also. And, my answer to these donors and potential donors, yes, there's a difficult situation and challenging situation in Haiti. And of course, what you're saying is absolutely true. Remember, there are still people living there, so life goes on. And Haiti is not Port-au-Prince. Even when you're seeing those images of gangs and like violence, even in the street of Port-au-Prince, if you're careful, look in the background, you will see a little Marchand that is wrapping up too quickly her
Wow.
style because she was there trying to sell and make a living. That's one. And because of that situation, that is very difficult. Like you said, everything is become more expensive and more complicated. You have to become more creative to actually have the impact that you want to have. Every dollar that you give, you donate, actually, like, you're sure that is going to have an impact. You're sure that, the impact is going to be something significant. So that's one of the more reason for you to engage with organization that have a track record of working with communities and empower them. So I can absolutely relate to what you're saying. And now's the time, I think now's the time for everyone that want to support organization that are keep having activities in Haiti. And I think also now is the time for us and the diaspora to rise up. As we said, Grace Cochon, c'est l'hypocrite cochon. It comes, let's show the difference because we are the one that, should believe in us before everything else.
That's right. And I mean, our ancestors, they left us a message for generations so that we could carry it from generation to generation to generation. And that message is found on our flag. L'union fait la force.
Union fait la force. Union fait la force. I know you don't see my shirt, but I wore my Dessalines shirt today.
Exactly. Peut-être Moulekai.
I didn't. I don't have a Sandy Belair shirt. Next time I go to Haiti, I'll try to get one. I have a
That's
Dessalines
right.
and I have a
I
Toussaint shirt.
I
So
love it. I love it. No, it's really imperative that nous mettons mains ensemble parce que main en pile, chat pas loup. Yon sel douette, pas manger kalalou. Look, I'm starting out. You're rubbing off on me.
So you're challenging me with my Haitian Creole proverb.
Yeah, you listen, you are rubbing off on me. It's imperative that just like our ancestors did, we hold each other's hands and we do this together. Parce que ensemble nous plus fort. Like we need each other in order for us to advance.
And that's the basis of our community. It's because, that l'union fait la force, mais on peut le keep happening. When, I'm sure you're witnessing it when you go to Haiti. If you work with someone, you lift that person out of a difficult situation, you lift an entire household and sometimes an entire community because we just don't keep, the action that was positive for ourselves. We share it, and that was the idea of the LACO.
Yeah.
Every resources needed to be shared. Growing up, I grew up in the 80s in Delma. We say
Wow.
voisinage ses amis. And my
Wow.
mom would go to work, and every neighbor would be responsible of every kid growing up in the neighborhood. That's how it was.
Wow.
No fear. You didn't even have to ask.
Wow.
They knew already that was their responsibility. And that's the beauty of the Asian community. And I think that's also the reason why, despite this very challenging time, that we are still standing strong.
Right. That's right. That's right. I think that oh my goodness, we redefine what it means to be together. We redefined what it means to come together, to live together, to be one. Because if our ancestors, and you're right, we see this happening today, but our ancestors, they're the ones that showed us how powerful it is to come together. If this black this group of Africans from different tribes, from different communities, from different families, they were able to come together and create something new, created Haitian Creole because it was a whole bunch of people coming together that had different
Yep.
languages, that had different cultures, that had different expressions of life. If they were
Yep.
able to come together, create new languages, create different types of expressions, and
Agree
create
on a system of belief also. When we're looking at the voodoo, there's actually 23 different God that we agree that, this is how we're going to handle it.
it's
So yeah, it starts there.
it starts it, and then the ultimate thing that we created that no one in the world has been able to create was a free Black republic. We created it through a successful slave revolt. No other nation was formed because of a successful slave revolt. It was only Haitians who came together from different areas, from different families, we all came together, fought together, and created the first free Black republic. And what Haiti did has never been repeated in the history of
Never,
humanity. And so,
never be repeated.
so that shows me that we really redefined what it means to come together. We
Oh,
really
yes.
redefined what it means to be one and to accomplish together.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for this word. We could keep going on, so to put a term into that conversation, maybe we'll have another one. But thank you, Dr. Bertrhude, for being with us today. Your commitment on empowering and transforming life in Haiti is really, truly inspiring. Uh, I want to tell everyone that's going to listen to that conversation that there's opportunities still, to support the work that Fonkoze is doing and that P4H is doing. Please visit our website to know more. If you want to have more information, there's a way for you to contact us. So please do so. Thank you so much, Dr. Batwi.
Thank you for having me. This was tremendous. Thank you so much.
Merci en pile. All right. Thank you,
That
everyone.
the freedom of all the freedom, because the United States talks about liberty and freedom for all, the equality of man, the